It was a beautiful morning in Dino Valley. Dino Dan was picking bright blue berries. Rosie was building a flower crown. Everything was calm. Then suddenly, roar! The ground rumbled, the trees shook, the berries bounced. Dino Dan jumped. Dino Dan said, "Whoa!" Rosie asked, "Did you hear that?" Again, the sound echoed, roar! The sound seemed to come from Roaring Mountain, a giant mountain at the edge of the valley. Nobody had heard it roar before. Rosie asked, "Do you think there's a giant dinosaur up there?" Dino Dan gulped, then smiled. He said, "Let's investigate." The adventure had begun. The friends followed a winding path. Up, up, up! As they climbed, the roaring grew louder. Roar! Rosie said, "It's getting closer!" The path suddenly split into 3 directions. One path had yellow flowers. One path had blue stones. One path had red leaves. Dino Dan noticed something. The blue stones were vibrating every time the mountain roared. He said, "I think that's the right way." The blue stone path led to a giant cave. Inside, roar! The sound exploded around them. It echoed everywhere. Dan looked carefully. Then he laughed. Rosie asked, "What is it?" Dino Dan pointed. A tiny cave opening sat high above them. Every gust of wind rushed through it. The cave was making the roaring sound. A strong breeze blew through again. Roar! But this time, Dan listened carefully. The roar sounded almost musical. Dino Dan said, "Listen!" The wind made different sounds. High sounds, low sounds, funny sounds. The cave was like a giant dinosaur flute. Dan picked up a hollow branch. Rosie found smooth rocks. Soon, they were making music with the wind. Roar, roar, hear the breeze, dancing through the mountain trees. Whoosh and whistle, hum and play, making music all the day. Roar, roar, loud and bright, echoes dancing left and right. Sing along and stomp your feet. Mountain music is a treat. Suddenly, the wind stopped. Everything became quiet, very quiet. Then a gentle breeze returned. Instead of a roar, the cave made a soft whistle. Rosie said, "So the mountain wasn't roaring at all?" Dino Dan said, "It was singing!" The friends laughed. The mystery was solved. As the sun began to set, Dan and Rosie headed home. The mountain gave one final musical roar. Roar! But now it didn't sound scary. It sounded friendly, like it was saying goodbye. Dino Dan said, "See you tomorrow, Roaring Mountain." And from that day on, whenever the wind blew through the mountain, the dinosaurs of Dino Valley would stop and listen. Because they knew the mountain wasn't roaring, it was singing its special song. And Dino Dan couldn't wait for his next adventure. The end.